Arushi, a 13-year-old girl in India, was harmed in her home while her parents were soundly asleep in the adjacent room. Following the incident, the family's domestic helper mysteriously disappeared. Suspecting the helper's involvement, her parents immediately contacted the police. Although the police quickly located the suspect, the case was far from straightforward. It could involve coercion, theft, emotional conflict, or even deeper secrets within the relationship between the homeowner's daughter and the domestic helper. The entire truth will be revealed in today's video. You are watching the Crime Documentary Files channel. Before we dive into the case details, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel. Thank you very much. The incident occurred in Uttar Pradesh, India's most populous state. Noida, a city in the western part of Uttar Pradesh, is located about 25 kilometers southeast of the capital, New Delhi. The main character of our story, Arushi, was born in May 1994. She is a cheerful, intelligent, and sharp girl. At the age of 13, she attended a public school in Delhi. Born to a wealthy family, her parents are dentists at a local hospital and also run a clinic near their home for convenience in caring for their children. The parents employed a domestic helper named Hemraj, a 45-year-old man from Nepal. Hemraj's wife is paralyzed, making her unable to work, and he has an 18-year-old son with disabilities, placing the financial burden entirely on him. Hemraj lived with Arushi's family in an apartment in a wealthy neighborhood of Noida. The apartment is part of a 3-story building, and Arushi's family resides on the second floor. This image is a simulation of the second floor of the building with 3 bedrooms and a living room. To get from the main entrance of the apartment to the living room, one must pass through 3 doors. The first is an outer metal door that can be opened from both inside and outside. The second is a metal screen door usually locked from the outside. The third is a wooden door, which prevents outsiders from seeing inside. However, from outside the main door, you can see the second metal screen and the wooden door. The bedroom near the apartment's main entrance belongs to the domestic helper, Hemraj. To reach the living room first, the outer metal door must be opened, then one can pass through the bedroom door. Notably, Hemraj's bedroom also has another door that leads directly into the living room. Next is the bedroom of Arushi, 13, located near the living room hallway. The parents' bedroom is further inside, not far from each other. If one continues from the apartment door and then up the stairs, they would reach the rooftop on the 3rd floor of the building. There is a metal door here, usually locked, and Hemraj also has a key to this rooftop door. For many years, Arushi's family lived peacefully in their home. However, during the summer of 2008, a shocking incident left all of India stunned and remains a haunting memory for those familiar with the story. On May 16, 2008, a Friday, Parati, a part-time housekeeper, arrived at Arushi's home to clean. Previously, a single doorbell ring would prompt the family's live-in helper, Hemraj, to open the door. But on this day, Parati waited a long time at the front door, repeatedly ringing the bell with no response. She was anxious as she needed to quickly move to another home for her scheduled cleaning job. Concerned, Parati pushed on the first metal door of the apartment, but it wouldn't open. After ringing the doorbell a 3rd time, she finally heard movement behind the door. Peering through the 2 metal doors, Parati saw the 3rd wooden door gradually open, revealing Nupur, Arushi's mother. Despite seeing Parati waiting outside, Nupur explained that the 2nd metal door was securely locked from the inside and could not be opened. The key was with Hemraj, who was not present in his room at the time. Nupur speculated that Hemraj had gone out to get milk and might return shortly. Parati, pressed for time, didn't want to wait and suggested that Nupur retrieve the keys from Hemraj's room and throw them down from the 2nd floor window so she could unlock the door from the outside. After tossing the keys, Nupur immediately called Hemraj. Oddly, after the call connected, the line was abruptly disconnected. When Nupur tried calling again, the phone was switched off. At this moment, Rajesh, Arushi's father, woke up and walked into the living room to find an empty whiskey bottle on the table, which was unusual since no one in the house drank alcohol. He and his wife then checked Arushi's room. Arushi's bedroom door had an automatic lock that usually couldn't be opened from the outside, but when the couple turned the doorknob, they found it unlocked. Upon opening the door, they were horrified to find Arushi lying on the bed lifeless. Shocked by the scene, the couple returned to the living room and collapsed in tears. Parati, after picking up the keys, returned to open the door and found that the outer metal door was not locked and the second screen door was only latched. Upon opening the third wooden door into the living room, she saw Rajesh and Nupur sitting in tears. Nupur signaled Parati to go to Arushi's room and told her that she was certain the perpetrator was the domestic helper, Hemraj. After hearing the news, a neighbor called the police, who immediately arrived at the scene. At the time, over 20 people were gathered in Arushi's apartment, with 15 in the living room and 6 in the bedrooms of Arushi and Nupur. Most were neighbors. Additionally, many people had entered Arushi's bedroom, nearly compromising the crime scene. Arushi was found in a blue sweater on her bed, her legs covered with a blanket. Her face and neck bore several wounds inflicted by a sharp object. Blood spatters were found on the floor and the bed. In her bedroom, a digital camera was found containing 5 family photos, though a technician discovered that at least 23 photos had been taken, with 18 deleted and irrecoverable. At the crime scene, police collected 26 fingerprints. However, due to interference at the scene, 24 fingerprints were unidentifiable, and the remaining 2 were difficult to link to the perpetrator. Arushi's mobile phone was missing from her bedroom, but the key to her bedroom door was found in the living room. According to the forensic team, Arushi succumbed to sharp force trauma within 2 minutes. The perpetrator had cleaned up the crime scene after committing the crime. The estimated time of the incident was between midnight and 1 a.m. the previous night. There were no signs of coercion on Arushi. The perpetrator had taken her mobile phone. Police took statements from Arushi's family. Her father, Rajesh, reported that no one knew Hemraj's whereabouts and his phone had been turned off. Rajesh believed that Hemraj had drunk the whiskey in the living room and was responsible for everything. A neighbor reported to the police that he had noticed suspicious traces on the staircase leading up to the 3rd floor and the rooftop of the building. The police arrived at the rooftop door, which was locked, so they asked Rajesh for the key. Rajesh mentioned that the key was in his bedroom and he would retrieve it, but he did not return to give the key to the police. At that time, the forensics team was taking Arushi for an examination, and the police officer at the rooftop door felt that apprehending the suspect was a priority and therefore did not continue to inspect the rooftop. After the forensic work was completed, Arushi was brought back to her family. Due to the hot weather, her family, after receiving the news from the police, confirmed that they did not need a re-examination and arranged for her funeral at 4:00 p.m. that same day. The next morning, a retired police officer who was a neighbor visited Arushi's home. He discovered 3 empty cups in Hemraj's bedroom that seemed to have been used for drinking. On Hemraj's bed and in the bathroom, the retired officer found traces suggesting that more than one person had been present in the room on the night of the incident. Following the stairs leading up to the 3rd floor and rooftop, the retired officer noticed blood traces, so he called a locksmith to break the lock on the rooftop door. Once again, a shocking scene was uncovered. On the rooftop lay a man covered with a blanket, with blunt force trauma to his head and no signs of life. Rajesh was called up to identify the man but claimed he did not recognize him. The matter was immediately reported to the police. Upon arriving at the scene, the police confirmed that the man on the rooftop was indeed Hemraj. A bloodstain found there was identified as belonging to Hemraj. A shoe print on the floor, not belonging to Hemraj, likely belonged to the perpetrator. Hemraj's mobile phone was not found at the scene. Forensic analysis revealed that Hemraj had been struck in the back of the head with a sharp object, possibly the same weapon used in the incident with Arushi. The timing of their deaths was similar. Due to drag marks, the police speculated that the rooftop was not the initial crime scene. The 3 drink bottles in Hemraj's bedroom contained his DNA, although he typically did not drink alcohol. There were no signs of forced entry into Arushi's home. So, how did the perpetrator enter? According to the police investigation, the neighborhood guard on duty that night did not notice anyone suspicious. The Arushi family apartment had 2 sets of keys. One set was held by the domestic helper Hemraj, which could open all rooms except Arushi's bedroom, and the other set was held by Rajesh, Arushi's father. Typically, Hemraj's set of keys was kept on a table in the living room, but they disappeared after the incident, while Rajesh's set remained in his bedroom. Hours before the incident, Rajesh's driver, Umesh, had driven him home. 10 minutes later, Umesh went up to the second floor of the building to return the car keys to Hemraj. At that time, he saw Arushi and Nupur sitting at the dining table, and Rajesh came out of the bedroom. The last person to see the two victims that day was Umesh, the driver. A few days later would have been Arushi's birthday, and the digital camera was an early birthday gift from her parents. At 10 p.m. before the incident, Arushi's parents went to her room and gave her the camera. Then, the three took several photos together to commemorate the occasion. The police found that the last photo was taken at 10:10 p.m. By 11 p.m. that night, Rajesh needed to look up information online, so he needed to turn on the Wi-Fi router, which was located in Arushi's bedroom. Arushi's mother fetched the key to open the room, where Arushi was reading a book. After turning on the device, Arushi's mother returned to her bedroom. The browsing history showed that Rajesh was looking up stock information and the dental clinic's website, and he sent an email that concluded at 11:41 p.m. However, the browsing history indicated that at 12:08 a.m., the computer accessed a website using a network outside the home. A friend of Arushi reported that at midnight on the night of the incident, he called Arushi's mobile phone, but no one answered. He then called the landline at Arushi's house, which also went unanswered. This landline was located in the bedroom of Arushi's parents. The friend continued to send messages but received no response. Police determined that the router was turned off at 3:43 a.m. and was turned back on around 6 a.m. The forensic team estimated the time of the incident to be between midnight and 1 a.m. There were no signs of forced entry into the apartment, so the perpetrator definitely had a key. 3 days after the incident, police identified a suspect from Nepal named Charma, who had previously worked at Arushi's home for 10 years. Charma had a habit of taking a long vacation every year, during which he would arrange for a relative to replace him. 8 months earlier, Charma had introduced Hemraj to temporarily replace him, but upon returning from his vacation, Arushi's family fired him because they preferred Hemraj. Police suspected Charma harbored resentment towards Hemraj and used a key he had from his time working there to enter the house and commit the crime. Unfortunately, Arushi witnessed the incident and was dragged into it. After being detained by police, Charma surprisingly produced an alibi for the time of the incident. He was in Nepal, not in India. Since the police found no evidence linking Charma to the crime, he was released. Returning to the scene of the crime, Arushi's bedroom was near her parents' bedroom, which had an automatic lock on the door, requiring a key to open from the outside. Arushi's mother stated that there was only one key to her daughter's bedroom, usually kept in the parents' bedroom. After the incident, the police found this key on a table in the living room. The whiskey bottle was also on the table, taken from a very discreetly placed liquor cabinet. Typically, only someone very familiar with the house would know about this. Both Rajesh and Nupur stated that on the night of the incident, they did not hear any noise. If there had been a conflict in Arushi's bedroom, it would surely have made some noise. Regarding the bedroom key, the couple's statements were inconsistent. Rajesh said that he forgot to close the bedroom door that day, which might have allowed the perpetrator to secretly take the key while they were asleep. Nupur, on the other hand, mentioned that she used the key to open Arushi's bedroom door to turn on the router, and a phone ringing at that time might have caused her to forget to remove the key. Notably, after discovering the incident, it was a neighbor, not Arushi's parents, who called the police. Rajesh explained that at that moment, the part-time helper Bharati had just entered, so she went to find a neighbor to help call the police. However, he did not explain why he did not use his mobile phone to call the police himself. At 9:50 p.m. before the incident, Rajesh had called a store to inquire about using a camera. At 10:40 p.m., he received a call from a patient. At 10:46 p.m., he called a colleague to arrange dental work for the next day. The call history shows that Rajesh was continuously receiving calls to arrange dental work. However, from 7:40 p.m. on May 15th to 1 p.m. on May 18th, Nupur's phone was completely turned off. In the 2 months prior, her mobile phone had never been turned off. Moreover, neither of them called the police on the day of the incident, raising suspicions. At one point, a police officer asked Rajesh to provide the key to the rooftop door, but he said he would get it and never returned. Therefore, it was not until the next day that the police and neighbors discovered the body of the domestic helper on the rooftop. Additionally, after discovering the domestic helper Hemraj, the police asked Rajesh to identify him, but he claimed he did not know the person. 7 days after the incident, the police continued to uncover new evidence. According to the investigation, Rajesh had an extramarital affair that Hemraj had discovered. Therefore, the police speculated that Hemraj used this information to blackmail Rajesh. To silence him, Rajesh lured Hemraj to the rooftop and committed the crime. At that moment, his daughter Arushi accidentally witnessed the scene and tried to flee. Rajesh might have caused his daughter to fall to the ground, but the fall was too severe, leading to her death. His wife Nupur, possibly wanting to cover for her husband, helped clean up the crime scene. However, all of this is still speculation, and the police need to find concrete evidence to charge them. 2 weeks after the incident occurred, with no significant progress, the case was transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, India's premier investigative agency. A specialist from the CBI team visited the crime scene to conduct a reenactment. Following this, they concluded that on the night of the incident, the driver Umesh saw Rajesh returning home wearing a red t-shirt and striped pants. The part-time helper Bharati also mentioned seeing Rajesh in the same clothes the following Monday morning. The laboratory tested this clothing and found only Arushi's blood on it. The CBI team speculated that Rajesh and his wife might have discovered a relationship between their daughter Arushi and the helper Hemraj, which they could not accept, fearing it would tarnish the family's honor. In India, relationships or marriages between different social strata are strictly forbidden. Umesh told the CBI investigator that a few days before the incident, Rajesh had scolded his dental assistant Krishna for messing up a mold. Embarrassed and angered by the scolding, Krishna argued back and threatened revenge. 22 days after the incident, Krishna was detained by the police to aid the investigation. At his home, authorities found a pair of trousers with bloodstains and a Nepali knife. During his interrogation, Krishna mentioned a friend who also worked as a helper named Lakuma. Surprisingly, police also found a blood-stained pair of trousers at Lakuma's home. After being detained, Lakuma initially confessed to committing the crime, but later recanted his statement. Linking various statements, the police continued to investigate and found another helper named Vijay living near Arushi's home. Based on the gathered information, investigators hypothesized that the helper, Hemraj, the dental assistant Krishna, the helper Lakuma, Krishna's friend, and the helper Vijay all knew each other. On the night of the incident, it is possible that Hemraj invited the other three to his room. Krishna, holding a grudge against Rajesh for the earlier scolding, led Lakuma and Vijay into Arushi's bedroom with the intention of exacting revenge on her father. However, they met resistance from Arushi and assaulted her. At that moment, Hemraj discovered the situation, and to silence him, the three men knocked Hemraj unconscious and dragged him to the rooftop to kill him. However, both Krishna and Vijay provided alibis for the time of the incident. Only Lakuma could not provide a complete alibi. Lakuma's employer stated that on that night, he and Lakuma had gone to the train station. They returned home at 11:30 p.m. and had dinner until 12:30 a.m. Lakuma then went to his room, which has another door that leads outside. He also had the key to this door and could leave at any time. From his residence, it only takes 20 minutes by bicycle to reach Arushi's home, so it's not impossible that Lakuma could have sneaked out. The fingerprints of Krishna, Vijay, and Lakuma did not match those found at Arushi's home. 4 months after the incident, due to lack of evidence, the police were forced to release all three men. A year later, police unexpectedly discovered Arushi's mobile phone being used by someone else. They immediately located the device at a local black market. Following this lead, the police learned that someone had found the phone a few days after Arushi's incident. The finder had given the phone to his family to use, but they did not use it and instead sold it to traders at the black market. Unfortunately, technicians were unable to recover any data from the phone. As the investigation neared a deadlock, the CBI once again sent samples taken from Arushi's body back to the laboratory for re-examination. This time, the findings were completely different from the initial police report. The original report indicated that Arushi had not been coerced, but the latest report refuted this. CBI investigators discovered that the person previously responsible for examining the samples was acquainted with Arushi's mother, Nupur. Although Nupur was the victim's mother, she was also a suspect in the case. The CBI speculated, based on the wounds found on Hemraj's head, that they were likely caused by Rajesh's golf club. Although Rajesh did not play golf, a neighbor had gifted him a set of golf clubs a few years back. Among these, the number 5 iron matched the size of the wounds on both victims' heads. Although no DNA was found on the club, it was clearly cleaned. 2 years after the case occurred, the CBI presented a report in court concluding that Rajesh was the suspect. Subsequently, both Rajesh and Nupur were prosecuted. It took another 5 years for the case to go to trial. Investigators noted that, on the day of the incident, there were many people inside Arushi's house, and Rajesh appeared not overly sad, but rather tense. Additionally, there were no signs of forced entry into the house. The first forensic examiner, who knew Nupur, had altered the investigation results. The prosecution accused Rajesh and Nupur of acting against their daughter and the helper Hemraj because they could not accept a relationship between the two from different social strata. The couple then allegedly collaborated to manage the crime scene. After a 6-month trial, Rajesh and Nupur were sentenced to life imprisonment. However, they did not accept the verdict and appealed. In January 2014, the court stated that the CBI's conclusion was based on hypothesis and lacked direct evidence. After 3 more years of trials, at an appellate court session in 2017, Rajesh and Nupur were acquitted due to insufficient evidence. This verdict sparked intense debate within Indian society. To date, no new clues have emerged to help police solve the case, and the perpetrator remains at large. The case of Arushi and Hemraj has left a significant mark on the Indian public, becoming one of the most mysterious and shocking cases in the country's history. The complex details, intertwined relationships, and unresolved hypotheses make this case unforgettable. Who really is the perpetrator, and what was their motive? Hopefully one day the truth will be revealed and justice will be served. What do you think about this case? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much. See you in other cases.